And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Thank you for joining us on the marine portion of your broadcast. We're first going to be looking at your sea ice conditions across the area. So you can see across the Chukchi Sea, we are losing sea ice as expected as seasonal. We're even starting to lose some sea ice near Ukqiavik. We still have a little sea ice hanging on near Nome, but generally we're seeing the reduction in sea ice coverage as it would be expected for this time of year. Let's take a look at your marine forecast for the Panhandle. As you can see, we have a little bit of a coastal jet occurring on Wednesday. So winds and waves and small craft advisory criteria of 25 knots, waves up to 8 to 9 feet as you go out of sheltered waters. Meanwhile, in interior waters, we're still seeing waves up to about 5 feet near Ketchikan and winds up to 20 knots. And in Skagway, 15 knots and waves up to 3 feet. But again, this could vary in channel terrain, so travel with caution. As we go for Thursday, winds and waves are a little calmer. Interior areas generally around 2 feet for waves and winds up to 10 to 15 knots in interior areas. As we go along the coast, we see the waves again are about 6 to 5 feet with winds generally 15 knots. Let's look at your North Gulf Coast forecast. For Wednesday, seeing Prince William Sound, we are looking at waves about 3 feet and winds about 10 knots. As you go out of sheltered areas, waves up to 6 to 7 feet. And outside of Seward, we're looking at waves up to 4 feet and winds of about 15 knots. In Cook Inlet, as you go south of Homer, again, we're looking at waves of about 4 feet and winds 15 knots. But as you go north, we're looking at winds and waves that are about 3-foot waves and 15 knots. Thursday, we're looking at slightly calmer conditions, waves about 2 feet in Prince William Sound and winds about 10 knots, and waves getting up to about 5 feet south of Seward and generally 4 feet in the Cook Inlet area and then north of Kodiak. And as you go further north, winds and waves a little calmer. Let's see, as you go further west, near Kodiak Island for Wednesday, we're looking at waves at about 4 feet, winds 15 knots. As you go further south, winds and waves a little stronger, looking at 5 feet out of Falls Pass. Bristol Bay, a little more sheltered, we're looking at 4 feet. And then as you go closer to Dillingham, we're looking at waves about 2 feet. For your Thursday, we're looking at conditions about 4 feet near Falls Pass and interior Bristol Bay. We're looking at waves of 3 to 2 feet and winds about 10 knots. As we go further west, in the central Aleutians, south of the Aleutians, we're looking at waves 5 feet up to 7 feet as you go closer to the eastern Aleutian Islands. A little stronger winds and waves in that area associated with the frontal system. Also looking at waves at about 8 feet as you go further out west and winds up to 25 knots. As we look for your Thursday, we're going to expect waves up to 7 feet near the western Aleutian Islands with winds up to 20 knots. In the central Aleutians, we're looking at, again, waves of about 5 feet. And in the eastern Aleutian Islands, we're looking at waves about 4 to 5 feet and winds up to 20 knots. As we go further north, you can see we're looking at waves 3 to 2 feet, but up to 5 feet as you go further out towards the Pribilof Islands. But winds generally 10 to 15 knots. Thursday, waves a little calmer, about 4 feet near the Pribilof Islands, and 1 to 2 feet in more of our sheltered areas for Thursday. Wednesday, as we go north in the Chukchi Sea and ice-free waters, we're looking at waves up to 4 feet with northerly flow and winds of about 20 knots, and especially in the Bering Straits. As we go into Thursday, again, we're seeing waves up to 5 feet in ice-free waters especially the Bering Strait areas. And as you go to north into the Chukchi Sea, again, waves about 4 feet in ice-free waters. Meanwhile, along the Arctic coast, we're looking at winds of about 25 knots near Ukqiavik and Prudhoe Bay. So for Wednesday, again, we're looking at multiple weak low pressure systems across the area. We have one low south of the Alaska Peninsula, and we have one low that's moving in towards the Panhandle, but its front ahead of it will be keeping those winds sort of gusty as we were looking before earlier. Meanwhile, Thursday, that front will weaken.